Sports Saga podcast. We are presented by the Gonzalez team of Keller Williams, Southwood Tupa, Aldias Electric, and Smack Apparel, the official fan gear of the Sports Saga podcast. Great to have you with us, Brady Kudo with Ty Clack. How are you, buddy?
Wasn't expecting an introduction like that. What's this Ty?
Clack?
Brady's cracking up.
Yeah, that's how they say your name. Clack.
Brady's cracking up over something that we talked about right before we started recording.
It is a good day. It is a good day. It is August 6th. We are recording this. Not a big topic discussion today. At least for me, my racing playoffs are right around the corner. Our case sports coverage is right around the corner. We're going to get into field hockey, your expertise, soon. That's a sarcastic.
Field hockey and NASCAR, man. My top two things that you can say it if you want. We right before we started recording, Brady just lost his mind over something.
Tyler calls the sport vroom vroom car, and they go around in a circle. Vroom vroom car. Put that on a t-shirt.
Oval. Right. I did say oval.
And an oval. No, you did. I give you that. Okay. Yeah. Vroom vroom car and an oval. Right into. In all seriousness now, the sport we do know the most of us, baseball, the MLB. What is going on? The Boston Red Sox, I think, either you were really, really with them or you were really, really against them coming into this year. You know, if you were really, really with them, you're confident they can make the postseason. You were confident they could find themselves in a wild card spot. I don't really think there was a lot of, I don't know, whatever. It was either that or B, we're done. We're toast. We're not doing anything. This team is not good. I leaned on the more, hey, the American League's weaker. I think we have a chance at a wild card spot. I think we can definitely get in. And I was on a seesaw. I was like, yeah, no. I was on for a while now. Now I'm on no again.
Well, I said going into this year, this season, I predicted the Red Sox would be about 81-81. They're pretty average, and for the majority of the year, they've been pretty average. I might say too.
Yeah.
But they had us fooled. But bear in mind, last year they had us fooled too, and then they faded near the end. So almost the same thing is happening the second time. I think what really showed what their faith was with the team was what they did at the trade deadline, which was trading for a utility player,
right?
Which they sent to AAA. I believe that was the only thing that they did at the trade deadline. They didn't buy, they didn't sell, they didn't. Oh, that's right. They traded Kiki Hernandez,
which I feel like that was going to be
minor league players.
They were shopping Verdugo. They were shopping Turner. I don't get it, man.
So I think that I've seen a lot of people, because I guess Boston fans are just diehard, that have been upset over their performance, and I'm like, this is exactly what we thought they would be. They're not terrible. They're just average. And unfortunately, being like totally just par for the course average is like the worst thing that you can be, because you just miss out on the playoff, but then you miss like the good draft picks that come with it. So do I think, see, people have said before they've underachieved. I don't think they've underachieved. They're pretty much as we thought they would be. Now, there are players on the team who are a lot better than I expected them to be. Justin Turner has been very good for us all year. I know he's up and down, but Kenley Jansen has overall been excellent for us in the course of the whole year. But then you got some other players that I know the expectations for him are not high, but the fact that they just had to DFA Christian Arroyo just shows about how his performance has been this year. Very weak from the catching standpoint this year too.
Yeah.
Uh, I think that they've done the best that they could. If they have all of the pieces together, they actually have very good starting pitching. They get, Paxton, Sale, Pavetta. They have the thing, but I think overall they're as average as we thought they would be this year. I mean, did if you went into this season thinking the Red Sox are going to win the American League, like you might want to
No.
double check your notes. No, we didn't think that, but I would not say that they have underachieved this year. They're as good as I thought they would be, but really good teams do not lose 2 out of 3 games to the Oakland Athletics. Really
I
good teams do not get swept at crucial times by a division rival, including losing by 11 runs today. It's and then they just also came from losing 2 out of 3 to Seattle, who's also average at best
all
this
who
year.
underachieved.
Oh, also right. Um, but I would say that's the thing with the Red Sox. They have not disappointed. They're as average as I thought they would be.
I think like, well, first of all, I don't know if you'd give it to him now, but I had gone on record earlier before the season started, and I had said Masataka Yoshida was my pick to win American League Rookie of the Year. And I still think he's got a very good shot at doing that because he has been everything I thought he was going to be. I thought he was going to hit for power. I thought Red Sox fans were going to fall in love with this guy, and they have. He is here to stay. I'm a big believer in Masa and what he brings to the table. I think he's a phenomenal baseball player.
I think he'll get the votes, but I don't think he will win.
But who you put above him?
Gunnar Henderson, is he eligible on Baltimore?
Um,
Is he eligible? He played last year, but he might be.
I don't know. What
Or
position again? I don't know. That tells you how much
he
baseball I
third
watch.
base. Also, there's Jung on the Rangers too, third
Oh, that's
baseman.
true. Josh Young. I think so. Yeah.
Jung.
Young,
I
whatever.
just looked it up.
Yeah. He'll probably get it. Regardless.
Between the two of them.
I just think you look at the Red Sox, and they were in a position at the deadline. They had gone a little winning streak. I think they had won 4 or 5 in a row. This is the time to go all in. If you want a playoff spot, you want to put yourself in success for the next 2 to 3, even 4 years, you got to go now. And yet again, it's the front office. Here's what I don't understand. And Patriots fans, I think, can make the same thing argue about Belichick. We didn't get DeAndre Hopkins. Yes, and you have nobody to blame except Bill Belichick for that because he didn't want to open up a checkbook.
No, I
So,
think the I
going on
think
with the
the
Red Sox right now. Like, this isn't Tampa Bay, Heim. You know what I mean? Like,
yeah.
you're not going to skate away with an $80 million payroll. It's not going to happen.
I
You're
think
going
they
to make
realize. Yeah, I think they realize that even if they opened up, they made the playoffs. Look at the other teams in the American League. I mean, you're gonna you're gonna match up. Let's say you make the playoffs. Okay, I would say if the Red Sox this year, and I'm gonna say best case scenario, would sneak in as the final wild card team. Okay, would you agree with that?
yes.
Okay, first round, admittedly, you'd get the winner of the American League Central, which is either Cleveland or Minnesota. So fairly weak,
Right.
possibly weak opponent the first round. If you win that game, you're either facing Texas or Houston,
Right.
or unless because I predict whoever doesn't win that division is the 1 seed. Well, you can debate me on that if you want, but that's just what my prediction is. And do you really think you're going to go toe to toe with either of those teams? I think, but I could say this too. Yeah, I think that's Bloom's standpoint, but look at what the Phillies did last year. I just want to point out they were the low
I
seed and they made it.
I have never been a fan of Hein Bloom.
Yeah,
Even the day he was hired, I was like, we're getting this guy from Tampa who had one good year in a small market, got away with the $80 million payroll. That doesn't work in Boston.
no, I.
when
I
you're
think,
you are year after year, number one, you're expected to be at the top.
yeah,
Number two, you're expected to be in on every single big free agent out there.
yeah,
If that man does not offer at least $400 million to Shohei Ohtani, I don't know what is wrong with him.
yeah.
I am
I don't
not
know.
big I see we see Jalen Brown getting this big contract, and even I was like,
Yeah, that was
oh my God,
surprising to me too.
oh my God, I'll gladly do that for Shohei Ohtani because he does everything. He does everything.
He does.
You know what I mean? Like
I,
that's one guy I'd be willing to write. Hey, here's 300 million bucks.
I was confused with Bloom last year when he traded Vasquez at the deadline, and yet
That's
also
where it all
traded
started to just.
but then also still traded for Tommy Pham. So I don't. But this year, I think that they're content with being average, just kind of
Which
mailing it
to
in
why
this year.
anybody content at being average
Yeah,
is beyond me.
that's the best I can think of, and I think you're going to start to see them slowly fade. I'm
Oh,
still
absolutely.
standing by somewhere in the high 70s to low 80s for win total. I don't. I'd be amazed if it goes beyond that.
Better than the Oakland A's, though.
What a what a sorry sight that is. The Oakland A's are as good as we thought they would be, and they are currently.
Are
Hold
they
this
like
up.
37 and 80 or something just
31 and 80. I gotta hold on.
pretty good?
I'm gonna look this up. I just want to see what the final. So, in case you're wondering, the 2003 Detroit Tigers went 43 and 119.
That's pretty bad.
That is very bad. But you could look it up. Dimitri Young actually had a good year for them that year, and their winning percentage for the whole year was 265.
Oh,
The A's are currently at 279,
oh, slightly better.
slightly
Slightly.
slightly better. But again, you can't fault the team for it. We talked about this before.
Fault ownership.
Can a casual baseball fan actually name the starting lineup of the Oakland Athletics
No,
right now?
no. I don't honestly. You had trouble with it, and you watch a
And
lot more ball than I do.
and I do. So they're playing the Giants right now. Um, I'm looking. I just went on ESPN and I pulled up the box score. One, two, three. I don't know who four of the players in their starting lineup are. I don't know their first names. They have Reese, Blade, Galoff.
You knew Blade. I knew
Well,
Blade.
I knew Blade. Brown, the team before. Brent Rooker, who at one point was actually a very high WAR
Led the American League in WAR.
for a brief time.
Yes,
Diaz third.
Adelaide missed yes.
No, that's J Diaz. Jordan Diaz.
Oh, no, I don't know what that is.
I don't know. Tyler Soderstrom is
Nope,
catching.
nope.
No, he's DHing, excuse me. Shea Langoliers is their catcher.
Oh,
And is it Nick Allen? It is Nick Allen, who's kind of a career journeyman. But it's a roster that's stripped down to its studs. The owner. So basically, here's a Spark Notes version to the best of my
uh-oh.
knowledge about essentially what happened with the Oakland A's. Is there's a dispute over the stadium. The stadium is terrible. It's an awful stadium. If you look at the dimensions, pay attention sometime to how freakishly large the right and left field foul lines are, and their dugout does not even have a bar across it. Look that up too. That's true. It's just like a slab basically. Um, They need a new stadium. They've needed it for a while. The city of Oakland doesn't like paying for anything. That's why they lost. So they lost the Warriors first. You wouldn't think it because of the Golden State Warriors, but they
Yeah, they
went from
just moved
playing in
across the
Oakland to
bay.
playing in San Francisco, so not far.
And the
And then
Raiders.
the Raiders, your team, but the A's are in need of a new stadium. There was a debate about it, but Vegas, who has almost unlimited money, it would appear, had no problem doing that. So the owner, I think, essentially what he did was he made it to cut the roster down to the absolute bare minimum, knowing that they would be terrible, then raise the ticket prices to
Hmm.
go to the games, and then there's nobody went because why would you pay a lot of money to watch a terrible team be
Right.
terrible? And then he blamed the fans and said, "See, it's because you all don't want to go to the game. That's why I'm moving." So
Yeah.
it's some sort of weird manipulation
Sad.
tactic. That's the best I can explain it.
I forget the gentleman's name. We've seen some pretty bad owners in sports. Dan Snyder, uh,
Marge
Donald.
shot
Oh my God, the guy that owned the Clippers, Donald Steinberg, something.
Sterling.
Sterling. He was bad. This
Mar-
guy might.
Marge Marge shot is the worst
This guy
one.
might be. I'm not. I mean, Sterling was just weird.
Marge
Snyder was just an idiot.
Marge
This
shot
guy
used to
is
be
just a jerk.
no, he is. Marge shot was also terrible. She used to be the owner of the Reds.
That
Um,
explains a lot.
so the best. Let me see if I can find the specific. Though I don't lie.
Yeah, and then I want.
Uh,
I want to get a quick, brief college football preview in because
the,
we could go on and
the,
on how bad this team is.
well, to summarize why Marge shot was
Go
such
ahead.
a bad owner, there was an umpire named John McSherry who,
Okay.
on opening day, suffered a heart attack and died in the middle of the game. Died on the field or died somewhere about the game. So they postponed the game because it was traumatic for the players, and she did not understand why they had to postpone the game. She wanted to keep playing. Her logic was basically, it's just an umpire. Let's keep playing.
Yeah.
You know, something to that effect.
Uh, well, it's the Oakland A's in a nutshell, I guess.
Pretty much.
Um, talking about speaking about bad teams. We're talking about the Athletics this year, and we were talking about the Rutgers football in the '90s and how atrociously bad they were. They're on the rise this year. Not expected to do anything major. Let's go to the major team, the Georgia Bulldogs, coming off a national championship. Do you expect them to go back to back? Is that the expectation?
I would say no, but it wasn't the expectation last year either.
Right.
Um, so Georgia last year when they went back to back, but very few people picked them to repeat just because they had lost a number of players. But
In the simple fact, it's just so hard to do.
it's so difficult, and they just lost their quarterback too. So do I? I'm not a huge college football expert here. Um, I would say no. The team I'm being consistently seeing picked, but that's every year is Ohio State, um, Alabama. Let me just check.
I mean, I think Michigan will be in there. Ohio State, I mean, even Bama, like we don't know who the quarterbacks of these teams are going to be. Ohio State, it looks like it's going to be Kyle McCord, who's going to be a junior.
Yeah,
Alabama looks like Jalen Milrow.
it
Um, I
it's
mean,
so
Tyler Buckner followed Tommy Reese from Notre Dame. He's probably going to be the favorite. That's the tough part. Is like last year we kind of
yeah.
it's um Bryce Young. Ohio State we knew it was Stroud. Michigan we knew it was probably going to be JJ McCarthy. We don't have that this year. This year is wide open. I mean, except with McCarthy will be back for Michigan, but Michigan, they're odd. They're odd. I love Harbaugh. He spent it for the first four games, so I think, and they have the
Yeah,
first
you
pretty
usually
easy
have
games, so they
first
should be
four
okay.
games, or my father always used to make this joke. If you're a powerhouse team and you're playing a team that has a directional in their name, you're probably going to win.
East
That's
Carolina. I know they played them week 1.
other than like actual states like North Carolina or whatever. But I mean, if you're playing like
Like Northwestern Valley, Idaho State or
if
something.
you're playing, Southwestern Missouri State,
God bless you.
yeah. Um, so I would say, do I think Georgia will repeat? No, but you always, would say that. But I think that they have such a great coach, and they are returning a number of players as well,
Yes.
that there's a very realistic chance that they can do that.
Kirby Smart's great local note. Xavier Truss, Bishop Michigan graduate, is going to be starting on that Georgia offensive line for the second consecutive year this year. A little interesting local fact. One last note on college football, and this is the big one, and this is why I wanted to save as much time for this as I possibly could.
Mm.
It's the realignment.
Oh,
And
yeah.
let me just say this. Shame on the NCAA for not coming in and saying, hey, Pac-12, to the chancellors and the presidents of the schools and the commissioner. In my eyes, this is what should have happened. Either A, negotiate a TV deal, get it done by date X, or we're going to do it for you. I don't know if they can legally do that, but I'm sure the NCAA can just shimmy its way through it like they have with many things. The fact that we're going to see what is essentially, in my opinion, going to be 10 years down the road are 2 super conferences boggles my mind. I think, honest to God, I think in the next 10 years, you're going to see the ACC die. I think you're going to see the ACC and the SEC kind of merge into one. You're going to see Boston College, well, honestly, probably in the Big Ten, the way things are going on, right? The Big Ten will be one. The Big 12 will probably be its own thing. And then something else people aren't considering. What about like Conference USA? Or the American, which Florida Atlantic just joined the American this year. The Sun Belt. Mountain West, your group of 5 schools, your FCS schools. Because all we're thinking about here in this, and I know who you're gonna bring up. You're gonna bring up Eli Drinkwitz, the head coach of Missouri.
I was pulling up the quote so I can use it.
Read the last 2 lines of that quote, because it's a pretty long quote. The last 2 lines he knocked it out of the park, in my opinion.
Yeah. Led me into it. So Eli Drinkowitz is the head coach of Missouri. I'm not a big expert on Missouri football, but they're always kind of second fiddle in the SEC anyway because they got Alabama, Georgia,
Yeah.
LSU to deal with. But Drinkowitz's quote when they asked him, I don't know if he approached the media or they came to him, but that I'm not clear of. He gave his honest opinion on the realignment. And I think he was spot on with it. To summarize, he said, did we count the cost? And then he specified, we're not talking about like financial cost. When we talk about like cost, college football players are still human beings. They're 20-year-old men,
Student athletes.
student athletes.
Because everyone is making this about football because we're in football season. Football is where the money is at. Why is Oregon gonna next not this upcoming softball season after? Why does Oregon have to travel 3,000 miles to play 3 meaningless conference games against Rutgers?
That's essentially, yeah.
I don't
it's money.
get it.
Unless they get something else in here. But he's saying like, they're going to travel far. But even if you travel like on like a plane, traveling in general is really tiring.
It is.
Especially if you're going across time zones.
Mm-hmm.
And you got to go if you're going from Oregon, and Oregon's going to join the Big Ten with Rutgers, literally across the country, and then if you're a student athlete, you're still a student. You still have to go to classes. You still have work that you have to do. So let's say that there's a football game. I won't even go as far as Rutgers. Let's just say Ohio State. So it's
Yeah,
shaved
yeah,
a
sure.
couple 100 miles off of that.
Yeah.
You play on a Saturday, okay? And let's say you can't, because at that point, taking a bus or something like that is just not going to happen. You're going to have to fly. You get back, so early the next day, and usually the day after, like a game is like a film review, typically. Um, no idea what time they would review the film at, but then getting back at 4 o'clock in the morning can just completely mess up your whole
Man,
system. Or any way you want to look at it. But now you're gonna be putting a lot on these athletes to have to travel across the country for a conference game. Now, the way that it was set up before was like Pac-12. People don't realize that the Pac is short for Pacific because they're on the Pacific coast. So it makes sense to have the teams like that. The Big Ten is mostly teams that were in the Midwest to Metro region. The Big 12 is like the southeastern or
southern and
southern
southeast.
middle part of the
You got the
country.
SEC.
I mean, they could have easily, instead of like the SEC is the Southeast Conference, but instead of like the Pac-12, they could have been the Pac Conference, the Middle Conference, the like there's different ways that they could
Right,
have described it because it makes sense, you know, geographically.
right.
But it'd be like doing sort of like, I know it's a lot more teams than college football. You're a Raiders fan, like
It's like the
it,
it's like the Raiders joining the NFC East. It doesn't
yeah,
make
it's like the Raiders joining. Yeah, so
it doesn't make
you,
sense.
you join the so we realign the NFL, but we're not realigning the NFL geographically. We're realigning the NFL based on certain arbitrary standards. So now you have a
It's unheard
division
of,
of
and it's no
the
different than in college. It
like imagine if your division now is the Raiders, Detroit, Miami, and I don't
Dallas.
know, Dallas, something like four teams that don't belong. The way that it was set up for years in college football made sense. You had it set up geographically. But all it comes down to now is one thing, which is what? Money. And not just money, TV rights.
That's what this is about.
All
People,
about,
America. This is what that's about. TV and media rights. The
I,
Pac-12 had a beautiful opportunity at their fingertips with
yeah.
Apple. A beautiful opportunity to help grow each other. Because how many people use iPhone,
I, yeah.
iPad, MacBook,
AirPods, MacBook.
AirPods? How
Hey,
many times do we open our phone? Apple's not stupid. You open your news app, you go to sports, the first thing they're going to show is Pac-12. Oh,
mhm.
what's Pac-12? Oh, okay, I like this. Yeah, stupid. The Pac-12 had a beautiful now, as much as like the commissioner of the Pac-12 like can't control that everyone's leaving, but at the
No,
same time, he could have easily prevented this because in the back of his, I believe the gentleman's name is Larry Scott. I could be wrong. Let's just say it's Larry. Larry in the back of his head could have been like, okay, well, they might leave. So how do we prevent that? And we have to come up with something. Just I don't know. And the chancellors and the presidents were absolutely no help. They're all buffoons. It just I don't understand.
this clip, I doubt it'll go viral in the future. This may blow up on me. I don't think it's going to kill the Pac-12. I think they're just going to have to take in like smaller teams to fill the void in the
I'll put it this
Pac-12.
way.
Like,
It with the Pac-12 right now, aside from 2024, like past 2024, is Washington State, Oregon State, Cal, and Stanford. I give it 2 months. Those four schools are going to find other conferences. I give it 4 months.
Yeah, because I'm just thinking you got, I don't know, San Diego State. They kind
San
of
Diego
were
State
put on.
already said because there were rumors they were going to join the Pac-12
Yeah,
because USC and UCLA were leaving, and then they shut those rumors down really, really quick. I thought when they left, I thought San Diego State and Boise State were going to be the two teams to
right.
replace, which would have made
I
sense.
was going to say
USC
with
and
Boise
UCLA,
State.
which that didn't make sense to begin with. Neither did
Uh,
Texas. Neither does Texas and Oklahoma join in the SEC. Neither does UCF joining the Big 12. Neither does BYU joining the Big 12. Houston,
yeah,
I can see. None of it makes sense.
no,
They're all, and then remember that rumor a few months ago about Gonzaga joining the Big East? Remember that rumor? I
Gonzaga
lost my
based
mind.
in
I
based in
almost lost
Washington.
my mind
Yeah,
because of how absurd. And then that other rumor, UConn joining the Big 12. Oh, it aggravates me. It aggravates me so much. And I know I'm just a fan at the end of the day. And those are the
but
people that it's and the second to the student athletes.
yeah,
The fans are hurt the most by this.
it's just, it's
Not the broadcasters,
no.
not the writers, not the sport the day-to-day operations, the people with sports management degrees. Certainly not the chancellors of these schools because they seem to care less. I love how, the Pac-12 is the conference of champions. The NCAA, we're making student athletes better. No, you're not. No, you're not. You're doing the complete
This
opposite.
is
It's a
this is
shame.
a
Last thought. Go
hypothetical thing.
ahead. Go ahead. We'll end
I
this.
There's no way of ever knowing that this is true. If San Diego State had beaten UConn at the championship, they would have joined the
The
Pac-12.
Pac-12 would have been.
Oh yeah,
Oh.
yeah.
Guaranteed.
They
Guaranteed.
because there's teams that
Guaranteed.
can, any like small school that can like sniff any sort of like success can be bumped up. Let me give it
Yeah.
another example of that. Butler used to play in the Horizon League.
Butler. FAU, I mean, they had the agreement with the American long beforehand, but this
Yep.
magical Final Four run was a perfect prelude to
So
the American.
you'll see some sort of shuffling, but the big schools are all after, obviously, the money, and
Like,
I don't
where's
know.
Stanford gonna go? The Ivy League? I'll lose my mind.
I don't think the Ivy League would accept any other schools.
Yeah, we say that now. Um,
You got 6.5 minutes
any last thought
on the realignment.
on anything?
I'm still really annoyed about the outcome of the NCAA tournament months later,
Um,
still, but
we are
you can't
actually
change the outcome. I am
good. And then I have a little announcement that I
I'm
have to make.
I'm tired. Okay. I'm tired of the feel good team making it to the championship and losing.
And losing.
I'm tired of it. It happens all the time. I'm gonna run off a list right now of team. I'm not talking Jacksonville. That was not the championship. That was the playoffs. I'm not talking Jacksonville. The actual championship game or series. I'm
God.
gonna make you a list right now of the really feel good out of nowhere team that gets there and loses. You
How
ready?
long is this list?
7, 8 teams.
Oh God. Okay.
No, it's not long. Bengals in the Super Bowl.
Yes.
Okay, that's one. Okay, last year Phillies making it to the World Series and losing. We're gonna have a whole bunch in a row. Just to warn you. I hate to bring this up. I hate to think about it. TCU.
Yeah. I wanted TCU to
TCU. Um, Multiple teams in the NCAA tournament. Any of them that weren't UConn basically winning, but I mostly am referring to San Diego State or FAU.
win. FAU,
Um, that made it to the championship and lost.
Princeton. I mean, they didn't make it to the championship,
The
but
I'm just talking about, okay, so San
yeah, no,
Diego
my
State.
bad.
Then we'll
My
talk
bad.
about that, but FAU Final Four is still sort of the championship anyway. And now we're gonna run two more in a row. Ready for this? The 8 seeded Miami Heat losing. The 8 seeded equivalency of the 8 seeded Florida Panthers losing. So the feel
That's
good
so good.
team
All right.
makes it to the championship and loses. And I would
So
love to
happy
see
the Panthers
again
lost. I'm so happy the Heat lost.
a feel good in general. I'd love to see an actual like lower feel good team.
Hey, we almost saw it with Butler back in what was it, 2011 with Hayward halfway down and out.
2010.
2010.
That was the first ever and one of the only college basketball games I watched beginning to end. I that kept me up that night. I was devastated about that. That was crushing to me.
We are going to be debuting a little mini series.
Oh,
We're calling it Saga Samples, and the premiere is going to be this Wednesday. We're going to be reviewing The Harp in Foxborough. Went with a buddy the other day, and this was our first action plan. So it's going to debut Wednesday. Next week, be on the lookout for some great spots in Detroit because we're going to be reviewing a lot of the great spots in Detroit, Michigan. Be well. We'll be in touch. Thank you for hopping on, and see ya.
bye bye.